big family, and there is absolutely nothing that can prepare you for moments like this.
All right, we are getting word that there's Randy Bernard.
Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Welden, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.
There will be no one-on-one interviews or questions. Thank you.
Did he confirm he's... All right, we came in late on that, and folks, this is the hardest part of our job, and the last time I had to do this was 2006 with Paul Dana, but we have lost Dan Welden today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A tragic accident on lap number 13, and Dan Welden killed today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There'll be a 5-lap salute. Stay with us, please. What started out as an exciting day here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway has ended in tragedy. The news has just been released that Dan Welden has been killed in a crash on lap number 13 of this race, in the final race of the 2011 season. You heard the tail end of an announcement by Randy Bernard, the head man at the league here, that the drivers and team officials and owners have gotten together, and the race will not be finished. The drivers will do a 5-lap tribute salute, and that should take place in a matter of minutes. But the air of excitement that started this day is completely gone, as we have lost Dan Welden. And there's Marco Andretti, as his former teammate, killed in this tragic 15-car crash at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we mentioned the tribute lap. All the drivers, they'll be getting back into their cars. It'll be 5 laps in length as soon as they get everybody together. And as I mentioned before, this is the hardest part for us. The last time we had to do this was March of 2006 down at Homestead, when Paul Dano was killed in practice the morning of the race there. And unfortunately, over the years, it has happened too many times. Tony Rennan at Indy in a private practice. Greg Moore in 1999 at the season finale in Fontana. 99 in September, Gonzalo Rodriguez at practice during the race at Laguna Seca. Scott Brayton, of course, in 1996, practicing after he had won the pole for the Indianapolis 500. There is also the fact that Dan, who won the second time at Indy this year, he's not the first to have his life ended later in the season. In 1920, Gaston Chevrolet, he was killed later in November at a race in Beverly Hills. In 1929, Ray Keech won the race, and then June, he was killed at Altoona. In 1946, George Robson, and he later was killed at a race in Atlanta.
You see all the drivers now, they're going to do that 5-lap tribute, as you mentioned, Marty, and it'll be one of the most emotional laps, 5 laps, that they've ever done in their life, Eddie, simply from the fact that they are going out there not to compete, but to give a tribute to a dear friend and colleague that has been killed today. And you're not putting your helmet on and your visor down and going into race mode. You're going out there for a tribute, and there's no doubt there will be tears shed behind the visor of all the drivers that are out there.
Chip Ganassi talking there, and the man on the right is Don the Snake Prudhomme, the legendary drag racer. He is a huge IndyCar fan, and he is he's seen too much of this in his lifetime as well. Let's take you back. If you're just tuning in, we're going to take you back and give you the full, complete version of Randy Bernard's official announcement just a few minutes ago.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Welden has passed away from unsurvivable injury.
Okay, and obviously you heard Rick DeBrule. He was trying to get us to get down there quickly to get the announcement of the official position of the league, and we did catch the tail end of it where they had said that this race will not continue and the drivers will do a 5-lap tribute. There's Sarah Fisher. Just 2 weeks ago, she was on top of the world. Ed Carpenter had just given her first victory as a team owner, winning over Dario Franchitti by so close a margin. And how quickly everyone's emotions and feelings change, as here we are 2 weeks later, and as we said, we were going to celebrate not only a championship, but a Rookie of the Year championship, Danica's farewell, and maybe Dan winning $5 million if he could have won this race.
And as we watch this, Marty, we've said this before, this sport is a natural high when you drive. It gives you the highest highs, but it also has the lowest lows. And you don't understand that until you're involved in this sport. And as we see Dario Franchitti here, I mean, it pulls your gut out in this scenario. And overall, it's going to be a case where all the drivers are going to remember this, and it's tough. It's the last race of the year, Eddie, and it's something that they'll carry forward.
I think it really is a beautiful statement to his life that they're going to do that now. They're going out now, and they're going to run those 5 laps.
And as we see Tony Kanaan, who probably knew Dan best as far as all the drivers were concerned, got in his car early, was just sitting there and contemplating, and as I mentioned, tears probably just coming down. It will be emotions that, how can you contain them?
Racing has lost a great champion, not just IndyCar, but an incredible driver with an amazing record at the Indy 500, but an enthusiasm for the sport that was very difficult to find.
Just saw Elio Castroneves there. I heard him doing an interview earlier this weekend. As you look at Oriole Silver, there's Elio, and he said it's never the fear of being on the track. He said, my fear is not having a ride. He said, I love this so much. I just don't ever want to lose that ride.
And that's why drivers put their foot on the gas. They don't lift. And you talk about the racing that we have here and how crazy it is at the very beginning of it, but as race drivers, you drive as hard as you can, whether it's the first few laps, the middle laps, or the last few laps, and that's what we are instilled to do. And it starts off when you start very young, Eddie, as you and I have discussed, and it goes through all the different formulas that you race at, and you want to compete, you want to win, and you're not just like that on the racetrack. You're a competitor, and everything that you do, you want to do it better than the other person.
Guys, I want to let everybody at home know, obviously this crash has aired probably on every news outlet already across the board. And yes, it is a tragic situation and a day. I want to give you the opportunity at home. If you do not want to see this crash again, go ahead and turn away. We're going to go through it one more time, because it really is not the safer barrier, but it's the catch fence that does so much damage in this, to not just Dan's car, but to so many of the others. And this is in slow motion from high above.
Now, all the drivers are very crowded going into this corner, 3 abreast. One of them touches, goes sideways, Scott, and then mayhem.
And this is what we talked about before, that these speeds at 220 miles an hour, Eddie, you're going the length of a football field in less than a second, and you don't plan your next move at this speed. As you can now see, the cars starting to go one over each other, and they'll start to get up towards the catch fence, and those are the ones, the catch fences, that do the damage. The safer walls we've improved really helps dissipate the energy when the cars hit, but it's the catch fencing that's above the safer barriers that these cars got up into, and that is what has done the damage.
Another angle, and it's the second airborne car in your screen.
And as you mentioned, Eddie, cars just going for the same spot, and at this speed it just starts to go sideways. Cars start to climb up and over, and as further cars continue to come into frame, you'll see cars starting to slide through and jump into the air, and now watch towards the catch fence, and the car now goes up, it's airborne, and it gets catapulted, and it gets into the catch fencing with the cockpit area first, which is something that you just cannot be prepared for.
And there's nothing you can actually do. There's nothing you can do. The drivers are put into positions, nothing they can do. Here it's in slow motion, but you can see how it arrives.
And the parts are going everywhere, and as a driver, you're trying to miss the large pieces, the cars themselves, and parts are falling out of the sky. You really don't know where to go or what to do, and if you escape this and you get through it, you sort of pinch yourself when you're on the far side of it and said, I made it. And unfortunately, some did not.
Last angle on this that we will show you, as
It's very painful to watch.
It is. It's heart-wrenching. You know these people as competitors, as sometimes they're angry with what you say about them on the air, but trust me, when
There's a
these
car going
moments,
into
there
the
it is right there, and
catch
that's the
fence.
the impact you were talking about, Scott. Cockpit towards the catch fence. Another view from Danica's car, as she was one of the 19 that managed to make it through.
She's on the lower part of the track, which was a good position to be in, but she has a bird's eye view of everything from here.
And as we heard her say earlier in this telecast, that she thought things were just getting a little bit crazy. She had eased off the throttle, not something that race car drivers do, but she just felt uncomfortable, had something about it, a sixth sense, if you will, and turned around and just gave herself a little bit more breathing space, which is something that worked out very well for her.
Charlie Kimball's view, he was in the middle lane, had nowhere to go.
And a car went right over the top of him.
And there's another car flying over the top.
And literally, I've been in these accidents. There's nothing you can do. Once it starts to happen, the momentum has to just play itself out.
The number 77, Dan Welden's car number today, has now been put at the top of the scoring pylon here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And the tribute lap as the cars are beginning to form as we salute Dan Welden. Don't ever say race car drivers don't have emotions, that they feel nothing. That's Dario Franchitti.
Probably the last thing he wants to do right now is drive a race car.
This is a tough moment for everybody here, as Dan Welden loses his life today in the series finale, as he was going for $5 million if he could have gone from 34th to 1st. His car number 77 sits atop the scoring pylon, and the 19 cars that are still able to make the laps are going to do a 5-lap tribute in Dan's honor here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Vince, you've got some details on what was in the drivers' meeting?
Well, I've been told by one of the drivers that in the drivers-only gathering, Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan broke the news to the group of drivers that Dan had passed away. There was discussion about whether or not they should continue the race. There were drivers on both sides of that fence. At that point, Randy Bernard came in and said that he understood it would be extremely difficult for them to make that decision at this time, considering what had just happened, and that he suggested they make a 3-wide formation and do the 5 laps in Dan's honor. And that was unanimously agreed upon by the drivers, that would be the fitting way to put an end to this day. I've just spoken with a member from Dan's team, and as all the cars are lining up to take this 5-lap honoring of Dan Welden, Dan's team will come out and stand on pit lane as well. Very, very emotional down here, as you might imagine.
And the fans are standing here in the grandstands at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as they are seeing everyone come out onto pit road. It's literally being lined by all the teams.
And something that we mentioned before, that this will be the most difficult 5 laps that any driver has ever done inside of a cockpit of a race car.
There is Dan's team as they are making their way out to pit lane. This move of canceling the race is not unprecedented. It happened in May of 1999 at Charlotte. 3 spectators were hit by flying debris and killed from a crash, and the race was halted. And but here today, just 12 completed laps. Tragedy strikes in what was supposed to be a celebration of a great season, a great championship battle, a farewell to Danica Patrick as she moves on in her career. And little did we know how it would end up at this moment, with all of us stunned and just literally in some disbelief, because Dan Welden is not with us to celebrate. this victorious day.
I think about all the work that Dan has done on the new 2012 car, that he was reporting back to all the drivers with great excitement as they anticipate the new car coming out for 2012. Ironically, a new, safer car, Marty.
Yeah, he was talking about how the sound of it, that turbo and everything was so cool. Let's go back, in case you're just tuning in again, to Randy Bernard's announcement of what was going to happen and how it happened.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Welden has passed away from unsurvivable injury. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Welden, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.
And here we are on the track, everybody lined up along pit lane, and there is the field of 19 cars that survived that horrific crash and made it through for the 5-lap salute to Dan Welden. When they begin this 5 laps, folks, we're just going to sit back and reflect with you.
this would then be a possibility of racing. Between checkers, way over the field.
So the 2011 Izod IndyCar Series comes to a close, but not the way that any of us had anticipated nor wanted. The championship has been won, but there's no celebration. The career has ended in one sport to move on to the next, but there is no happiness. And for all of us, it is just an emptiness as we have lost truly a great racer in Dan Welden. Jamie Little has been standing by at University Medical Center. 3 others were transported: J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, and Will Power. Jamie, can you give us an update from there?
I can't hear the booth.
Jamie, go. Jamie, speak.
University Medical Center right now in the trauma department, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of emotion here. Dan Welden's wife, Susie, their 2 little boys, his 3 brothers, and his sister were all by his side. Team owner Sam Schmidt is here. I've been told that Dan Welden's parents are at home in England. As for Susie, his wife, a plane is going to North Carolina to bring her family here to Las Vegas. And there's a lot of friends and family surrounding the outside trauma area at this time.
All right, Jamie, and obviously there's no more information available for J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, or Will Power, as they are still being treated over at University Medical Center. With this, we close out the season, Scott. Like I said, not the way we were anticipating at all.
Absolutely not, Marty. And I think of Dan Welden, just a superb person, a very, very fast race driver, somebody that I'm going to certainly miss, not only here at the IndyCar track, but saw him all the time at the kart track, and somebody that all the young drivers looked up to, Eddie.
And we'll continue to look up to an amazing human being with so much enthusiasm, and I'm at a total loss. I just can't believe what just happened.
He always had a smile on his face. In fact, he had actually done 3 television broadcasts with our Versus crew, the people that do the races when we're not on. And who knows, he may have had a career there. Many people ask me why I always sign off till we meet again. Because goodbye is always so final. Goodbye, Dan Welden.